So the area in square meters of pond A covered by an algae bloom decreases exponentially after some chemicals are applied. So notice after 2 days, it goes from 0 to 100. So write the equation for the area covered by the algae per day. So first things first, notice it goes from 200 to 100. So if I was going to write my equation, my initial value would be 200. My decay factor per 2 days would be a half, right? Because 200 to 100 is halving, all right? 100 divided by 200 is a half. So my decay factor per 2 days is a half. So my equation per 2 days is going to be, if I plug into the formula, right, my initial value was 200. My decay factor is a half. But remember, X is the number of 2-day time periods. Okay, so just like we've done before, if I plug in X equals 1, that means 2 days. X equals 2 means 4 days, so on and so forth, which means I need to take the number of days and divide it by 2. So my equation per day is going to be 200 times 0.5 to the power of D over 2, where D represents days. So there's your answer for A. Okay. For B, fill out the rest of the table. So I'm going to take my equation, 200 times 0.5 to the power of D over 2, and I'm simply going to plug in these 3 values. So plug in D equals 1, D equals 3, and D equals 4. So I will just simply do that in Desmos. So we'll say 200 times a half to the power of 1 divided by 2. Okay, so there's your answer for that one. We'll round that to 141. And then we'll plug in D equals 3. So we'll round that to, say, 71. And then we will plug in D equals 4. And that comes out to 50. So there's your answer for B. For C, okay, for C, this may be a little hard to see. Another pond B has an algae bloom that is decreasing. The area of the bloom in square meters is represented by the function B of t. Now let's zoom in here and look at the function, okay, where t is the number of days, okay. Which of the 2 algae blooms, pond A or pond B, was larger initially? So my pond A, so for pond A, my initial value was 200. For pond B, let's look at the equation. Pond B, it looks like my initial value is 150. So pond A is larger initially. So for D, which of the two algae blooms is decreasing more quickly? So pond A is decreasing by a half every, notice it's decreasing by a half every 2 days. Okay. Pond B is decreasing by a half every, let's look at the equation. Notice this right here is a 6. So it's decreasing by a half every 6 days. Okay. So pond A is decreasing by a half every 2 days. Pond B is decreasing by a half every 6 days, which means pond A is decreasing more quickly. And that is it for number 6.